Yemisi Egbewole and is former chief of staff to the White House press under Biden, and Matt Gorman is vice president of Targeted Victory. Two fantastic people to talk about this. Yemisi, welcome. Good morning to you. Good to have you with us today. You know, what goes through your mind when you hear these young voters? I mean, to me, a lot of them sound like, you know, Bernie Sanders voters, and always very enthusiastic about his policies, but they have new people to focus on now. What's your take?
Well, I wouldn't hand over the keys of the Democratic Party to one ideological lane. I think it's great that these young folks are engaged and they really want to be a part of kind of our democratic system. However, a lot of times I seem to find that energy doesn't always translate into policy and to votes. I mean, when we think about folks like Zohran and AOC, a lot of her original squad aren't even in Congress anymore. So I want those young folks to think about people like Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman. Cori Bush lost a Democratic primary to a prosecutor, Wesley Bell. And so a lot of times when you go too far left, you miss a lot of what is local. And you need to make sure that the candidates you're putting forward and the people you're supporting are really listening to the constituency, because we want longevity here, not just energy. Yeah,
you make a lot of good points. Matt, what do you think about what Yemisi has to say there about where the focus of the party should be? Obviously, you're working for Republican candidates, and she's looking at the Democrats' perspective. But, you know, would these people be formidable to run against, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, look, AOC would be absolutely a formidable candidate. And look at her and Ro Khanna. These are people who are looking to run for president, I believe, in 2028. And, you know, conferences like this, we should pay attention to them, not just for the midterms, but for 2028. Because even if it's not AOC or Ro Khanna, other people who are going to think about running, right, Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker, others, they're going to have to cater to these sorts of people who go to these conferences. This is where the energy is, the money is, and more importantly, the votes are. So all of these people who run for president in 2028 are going to have to speak to these people. It's not like Bernie in 2016 or 2020, where it was just a vocal minority of the party. They're shaping more and more of the Democratic Party now, and in a way that you haven't seen in the last decade.
You heard that young woman talking about wanting more focus on Palestine, and you see this movement of, you know, people calling for a Palestinian state. We're seeing more leaders in Europe calling for this as well. How do you think that should be managed, talked about in your party?
Well, I definitely want to caution a lot of young folks that just because something is really ramping up in the moment now, we need to look at what will this affect the party 10 years from now, 15 years from now. And so I really look to a lot of the folks that are running right now. They're kind of hedging themselves. But I think it's great that there's a conversation started. I mean, seeing President Trump and the vice president both make comments about what's happening in Gaza was really encouraging. And so I think there are ways to come in the middle and have conversations, but we don't need to jump the gun like some folks in Europe and kind of go full nuclear on this.
Yeah, really interesting. Let's pull this up. This is a headline from Politico, and it's looking ahead towards the midterms, Matt. More like a blue trickle. Dems are hoping for a blue wave that might not happen. And Democrats' big age headache is becoming a migraine. How do you look ahead right now to 2026, which is getting a little bit closer as we come into the end of the summer here?
Yeah, look, I was around at the NRCC during the first Trump midterm, and I think Democrats want to try and recreate that magic, but it's really not even close to being the case. You have CLF and the NRCC consistently outraising their Democratic counterparts. The Democrats, their message is muddled. And I think that age part really goes to the point of it, and really almost what we just talked about. What you're seeing right now is a battle, I like to say, between the radicals and the relics. Where the radicals are those left on the fringe, those socialists who were ostracized by the party at one point, but are really taking it over. And then the party apparatus who protects and elects members of Congress well into their 80s who are really trying to protect their turf. So as we go in, I'm watching it very, very closely.
All right. Thank you very much, Yemisi and Matt. Great to see you both.
See you.
Great panel.